Hi YouTubers, thank you so much for watching this channel. My name is Kevin, and in this video I want to talk to you about the anger after narcissistic abuse. This is the anger that follows you when you step out of the battlefield, so to speak, when you get out of the line of fire of the insults and the criticisms and the devaluing, demeaning comments. You disengage, and now you're in this place where you are stuck and just smoldering, and the pain is consuming your head and your heart, okay? And it's consuming your entire day. When you wake up in the morning, you're hurting, and you're mad, and you're angry, and you're arguing in your head. When you go about your day at work, you're arguing in your head. At night, you're arguing in your head. It consumes you, okay? Before I go any further, I want to let you know right now that this is the beginning of the healing process and that there is hope. You work through this part, heal this anger, you're going to come out of it a stronger person, right? So that's why I want to talk to you in this video, because I want to give my best to help you through this because I had to go through this myself, all right? So let's talk about how this anger manifests itself. Well, when you leave the relationship, and maybe you haven't gone no contact yet, which is a smart idea to do at this point. It'd be the best thing you can do, okay? I didn't, and so it took me longer to heal, all right? But when you leave the battlefield, so to speak, you're left with replaying all the stuff that was said and replaying what you could have, would have, and should have done differently, right? To avoid the pain, to avoid the trauma, to avoid the attacks on your life. This can become a post-traumatic stress disorder type of situation where you can find yourself so angry that you are just pacing your room, pacing your front yard or backyard, and you're having these arguments in your head as you replay the stuff that was said. It's like a tape, and it just loops. And you can start to have what's called even violent fantasies. And I've experienced this as well, where you not only replay the situation, but you intensify it. You play out a different version in your head, one in which you are this strong beast of a person and nobody talks to you this way, and it can get hostile and violent. You can envision yourself just punching them and throwing them down, and how dare you say this stuff to me, and all this stuff. These are called violent fantasies, and you can find yourself in this place where you're doing this with your narcissistic abuser who's no longer even around you. You're no longer on the battlefield. But this is inside of you, right? And it can cost you guys. It can cost you a lot. It can cost you your relationships. It can cost with people who love you, because they're seeing this stuff and they're tripping out. They're like, dude, you've gone mad. What's wrong with you? It can cost you your job. Listen, guys, I had to quit a job that I was working on because it was so bad. I couldn't focus, and I had to be honest with my employer and say, listen, I can't focus. And here's what was happening. I was working, and I'd find myself having these moments, which were more often than not, of replaying the situations in my head with my wife's family, the arguments that we would get into, the debates, and I would start to just argue while I was working. And I'd be arguing with them in my head, and sometimes I would say things out loud, and some of my coworkers would look at me, and one of them said, hey, Kev, you look like you're getting into some pretty intense arguments with yourself there. And I had to say, I know, guys, I'm struggling. And I was honest with them. I'd say, I'm struggling with my wife's family, and it's really eating me up. I had to go to my boss and say, listen, I can't focus. That's how bad it got. So I want to let you know that I understand this anger and this bitterness that follows you out of the narcissistic abuse. So what's going on? Well, first of all, one of the things that I've been discovering in my life is that the trauma that I experienced wasn't necessarily the insults and the remarks being made about me from my wife's family. As I've discovered myself, as I'm healing from this anger, I realized that my real anger was because I was not able to say the things I wanted to say. I wasn't able to stand up and say stop when I should have said stop. I wasn't able to fire back or properly defend myself in the situation. Look at it this way. If you're going out to war and you have weapons, you better make sure you're trained with those weapons, and you have to rely on your training and ability to fight in conflict. Otherwise, you're going to get your butt kicked, right? Well, that's kind of what happened in the situation with the narcissist. I learned that I'm not properly trained. Why am I not properly trained? And what am I really so angry about? Well, when I was taking the narcissistic abuse, I found myself in the situation where I wanted to say something, I just couldn't. I was afraid. I was afraid of the reaction. What if I stand up? What if I say this? Yes, I know it's my wife's family. Yes, I know that I need to respect them, but this has to stop. What if and I would stop myself. I wasn't being a man. I wasn't stepping up. Now, why? That's the question I had to figure out. Why? Because this is what really angers me. This is why I was angry. And this is why I was replaying those fantasies in my head of what I should have said, what I could have said. Well, I had to go dig deep down in my life, guys, to figure this part out. And what I had to come to grips with is that when I was just a little boy, 2, 3, 4 years old, and I was learning how to act out when I was angry and upset and didn't get my way, or when I was learning to stand my ground when my mom was trying to get me to eat food and I'd say, no, I'm not hungry, right? My dad, it was very much a disciplinary father. He's also narcissistic himself, but he would punish me. I would be thrown in the corner, thrown up against the wall, sometimes even spanked. My dad was very much a conservative, believer in punishing your kids. There's nothing wrong with being a disciplinary parent. I want to be a disciplinary parent, but I want you to understand something here. What I'm trying to say is that children, and I see this now in my 3-year-old, I have a 3-year-old boy and a 16-month-old daughter, and punishing them for standing their ground and saying no is teaching them that that if they're going to stand up for themselves, they're going to be punished. That's what I learned. So this is why I had a hard time standing up to the narcissistic abuse. I'd want to say something, but I'd stop. Instead, I was taught to think about it, process it. Just think about it, right? And this now means in my life that this is something I have to work through. I have to work through being assertive and aggressive. It also means that being a parent myself, when my son, it's changed my whole perception. When my son acts out, when he says, no, Dad, no, I don't want to do this. When we're trying to get him to eat, he says, no, I don't want to do these donuts fit or whatever. I'm not going to punish him and throw him in a corner like I was thrown in the corner or spanked. And I'm not going to say, you're going to listen to me. No, I'm going to say, okay, all right, you don't have to. You don't have to eat, when he's acting out because he's not getting something, when he gets mad and gets angry, right? I'm going to allow him to get mad and angry. I want him to be able to learn that expression is okay. It's okay to be angry. This is what you need to know. If you're living in this place of anger, you need to first know that it's okay to be angry, right? Now, don't get me wrong. With my son, I'm not going to allow him to act up in a store or whatever and cause a scene. No, I want to help him, guide him, something that I was never given. I want to guide him to a place where he can release that anger. So that means if we have to walk out of the store, we'll walk out of the store, and he can do his little anger bit outside up against the wall. You know what I mean? But I don't want to stop him from expressing his anger. I was stopped from expressing my anger, so it's very difficult for me. In the situation where I was abused by narcissists, it was very difficult for me to know how to say stop. I hope you understand. I know it took a while for me to get that out, but I hope this makes sense to you. This is what the healing process looks like, okay? You start to discover that your anger, okay, is not necessarily from the narcissist in your life. The anger comes from the truth that you were ill-equipped to deal with the narcissist in your life. And you need to go back. You need to go back and figure this stuff out. And I got to tell you this also. It's super important to go no contact during this time. Stop, please. Thank you. I'm getting some more coffee. Thank you. It's important to go no contact at this time, guys, through this process, if you haven't already. You have to break the idea that you need an apology from them. You have to break the idea that you somehow need to let them know how hurt you are. No, you don't. You need to acknowledge some of the truths about what took place. some of the truths about why you're really angry. And it's going to take a while, guys. Your body and your mind is going to fight you on this. Your body and your mind is going to tell you that they're the reason. The narcissist is the evil one. Those demons, ah! You know, and there's a lot of videos out there on YouTube right now that's painting the narcissist as this demon. Now, don't get me wrong, I hate narcissism, right? But the narcissism in my life from my wife's family has shown me, right, that my anger came from my own lack of understanding and my ill-equipped ability to properly stand up and make things stop. Now, that's not my narcissist's fault. Whose fault is that? It's my dad's fault. I have to come to face. I have to come face to face with that. That's my dad's fault. Okay, as a parent. Now I have to forgive my dad, and I have to move on. Okay, which is what I'm doing. I'm in the process of forgiving my dad, and I have to retrain myself from the conditioning of not expressing emotions. I have to be able to understand that expressing emotions does not necessarily mean that I'm going to have a consequence involved in that. Okay, so that's just one of the things that you're going to come to terms with as you're resolving this anger. I hope this helps, guys. I hope it leads you on a different path, but I want to let you know some important things right off the bat. One, if you haven't gone no contact, go no contact. And don't do it as a game, okay? Don't go no contact as a game where you're trying to just turn your back on them for a while, okay? Go no contact to figure this out for yourself, what's really hurting you, what's really bothering you, how to get past this anger, what it is you're angry at, all right? Hope that helps. Be sure to subscribe. I'll be making more videos.